Welcome, everyone. So I'm Kim Barker, and this is my colleague, Mary Ceccanese, and we are so excited to tell you about our new book. And you can see the cover right there. You can create positive change at work. This is a 4-year labor of love. That's what I call it. And I am so grateful for this partnership. I was telling my students today, if you would have told me when the first time I met Mary, which was probably back in the 2000s, that we would have written a book together, I would have said, you are kidding me. But we did it. And it's been wonderful. Let me tell you a little bit about Mary. Mary is the owner and principal consultant of Dynamic Connections, LLC. She has been celebrating more than 15 years of presenting interactive seminars and workshops to all levels of staff in both for-profit and nonprofit organizations. She engages attendees with research-based practices applied to work-life scenarios. She has a BA in Human Resources Administration and has worked at the University of Michigan for more than 30 years as a staff member. In 2010, she received U of M's Candace J. Johnson Award for Excellence, and in 2019 was presented with the Staff Impact Award. In addition, she was one of 2019's top 10 businesswomen in the country of the American Businesswomen's Association. Mary, along with her colleague, Marcia Ryan, released their first product, High Quality Connection Cards, in the fall of 2020. These cards are used by individuals and groups to create an engaged and energized workforce. And this is her second project.
It is. It's taken a lot longer than the first project. Yes. But that's okay. Jane called it's a birthing process, if I recall. She told me when we were working on this. So Kim has a passion for teaching, learning, organizational development, advocacy, and planning for the future of work, which, you know, is going to be so different as we are living now and what's going to be in the future. And we need to be thinking ahead to that. Absolutely. She's taught at the university level for since 2010. Her research interests are many. They include living one's best life at work, global organization development, cultural competence, and dilemma reconciliation, along with gender equality in organizations, and servant, humble, compassionate, lean leadership. She is one of the most passionate people I know about what she does. When she gets up in the morning, she hopes it's a teaching day because she wants to spend the time with her students and helping them develop these skills and tools for themselves to use in life. So
thank you, Mary. Why did we write this book? This book shows you how to bloom right where you're planted, regardless of the circumstances surrounding you. We teach you how to get your boss to become your fan, how to create the team that's going to get the job done, and show you how to become the best version of yourself at work and possibly in life. Why are we doing this? Because we care about you. We want to empower you in positive business principles so that you can become the leader you were meant to become. We need leaders today in all levels of organizations, and it is our goal for you to live your best life possible at work.
All right, so now we're going to talk about Fuse 1, Forging a Positive Workplace. But first, I think we need to tell you why we're using the word fuse, right? Because this was something we worked on for quite some time before we came up with that. There are actually 4 building blocks, but we call them fuses because we think that term is more appropriate for what they are. to create and sustain a positive business workplace. Each of the 4 fuses builds unique strengths, that can be used independently. However, collectively, they create a powder keg of acceleration to an engaged, energized, thriving, and successful workforce. They lead to an explosion of positive benefits that fall on those who light all the fuses. So Kim, if you could go to the next slide, because this set of chapters, there are 3 chapters: cultivating compassion at work, forgiveness at work and in life, and unleashing the power of gratitude. The reason why those 3 issues and chapters are together is because in one of Kim Cameron's, I think it's his positive leadership book, in the 2nd chapter, he talks about a positive climate, what it takes to have a positive climate. And I think he called these attributes. And it's not something you hear very often in the workplace: compassion, forgiveness, gratitude. Yes, in the hospital, people are used to hearing about compassion for their employees, but it's not compassion towards each other or toward our supervisor or necessarily our supervisor to us. And it's really important. Jane's, I'm so honored that she's here tonight, but her main streams of research for her life, one has been on compassion and the other is on high quality connections, which we'll get to later. All right. And I am so in agreement with her on this, as is Kim. I would like to share with you, because the book has lots of stories. Yes. So I would like to read one to you to have you get a feel of what we put in here, because we wanted it to be something that everybody can relate to, but most especially staff. All right. So I'm going to tell you the story of the overflowing sump pump. Jenny had accepted a position in a new company. She was excited, but also scared. It was a large organization, more than 30,000 employees, and she didn't know anything about its day-to-day workings. However, the person who hired Jenny saw something special in her and knew that she could learn all that was needed if guided properly. Jenny was not brought on board for her institutional knowledge, but rather for her willingness to learn, apply what she learned, and try to better herself. Jenny's supervisor, Jan, signed Jenny up for every in-house class she thought would benefit her new employee. Jenny was a quick learner and adept at applying what she learned. While Jenny was still in her probationary period, she had a home emergency. During a rainstorm, her sump pump broke. It was the middle of the night. She ran downstairs trying to figure out what to do. At one point, she was holding the hose in her hand, and you guessed it, it spewed water all over her.
Oh.
This happened twice before she realized that unplugging the sump pump might be the smartest move. However, unplugging the sump pump meant that the basement could flood. Therefore, Jenny had to get up about every 30 to 40 minutes just to see if the pump was overflowing. By 6 a.m., she had to get ready for work on very little sleep. The rain had stopped, so she didn't have to worry about the basement flooding, but she still had to get a plumber, hope they could come out that day, and take some time off of work. She dreaded telling her new boss because she was still on probation. As it turned out, her boss was very sympathetic and understanding. Jan told Jenny that it was no problem for her to take the afternoon off. Jenny heaved a sigh of relief. Not all departments have this type of flexibility, but Jenny was fortunate. She was also blessed to work with an understanding and compassionate supervisor. Our focus in this chapter is to examine what compassion may look like in our day-to-day encounters at work and in life. So that's just an idea. At the end of each of the 3 chapters, actually at the end of all of the chapters, we have fuse questions and reflections. So we wanted to give you an example. So here's one. What are you grateful for today? The third chapter is on gratitude. A beautiful sunset, a special meal, your four-legged companion. Write down what it is that you're grateful for, how it makes you feel, and why you are grateful.
And you could put it in the chat if you wanted,
Sure.
or you can, write it in your journal or on a piece of paper.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Do you want us to do that now, Kim?
Sure. If you would like to, by all means, share.
Or you can share with us.
Yeah, you can talk. Oh my goodness. So
I'll just share. I'm really grateful for a wonderful conversation with a friend that I hadn't had a chance to touch on. Like you, so many of you, I'm probably as sick of Zoom as you are, but it was just so delightful to connect with her. So I'm still savoring that.
Oh, good for you. Mari says she's grateful for my understanding boss. Yes, they are priceless. And Barbara said she got a massage today. Yes.
Oh, yay.
Indulgence. Yes. And April says she's grateful for her family and friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. Top of the list.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, Libby.
Oh, I was just saying I was grateful because my husband just started working from home and he's just the best office mate.
Oh, that's so cute. And let's see, Sharon wrote something here too. She says, I'm grateful that I have had the opportunity to just laugh. I was with a great group of people. Isn't that wonderful? Laughter is such it can be a lifesaver in so many situations.
It really can. I'm grateful that we are finishing up a wonderful semester right now. So it was truly a wonderful one. It kind of started slow, and then once we hit October, it went shoo, and we don't know what happened to it, but it's over. So Mary and I, each of us, have done 2 fuses. The next fuse was mine, the upside of change, and I just really love this quote. One of the things that will always be inevitable is change, full of both vague uncertainty and brilliant promise. Isn't that true? Change can be scary, and managing our reaction to change is key. We help you go from denial to resistance to exploration to commitment. And then you can create a tipping point for both you and your team. Consider why change can be good and give examples. It all begins with telling our stories so others can learn from them. Take a second and think about what change-related items are important for you. How about in your personal life? How can you align your goals with the organization's goals? So let's take a minute in this fuse question and think about what change-related items are important and urgent right now at work. Or how about in your personal life? What actions can you take to address these today?
I'm going to jump in here, Kim. I think everyone on the call, I'm not sure, I think everyone knows that I am retiring effective December 15th at the university. And it's been a long, what is called a phase out at the university, a retiring phase out. And it's taken a lot of planning to go from what I've done for 33 years to working on a new passion. And sometimes change is like that. It doesn't happen overnight. I have spent a lot of time thinking about it. Oh, Mari said she didn't know. I'm sorry. But it's a major change in my life. You know, after next Wednesday, starting on Thursday, there will be no more, okay, got to get up and check the emails right away, see what's going on at work. And if is it a day I'm at work? Is it a day I'm at home? You know, well, I know that's going to be something I have to adapt to.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest, I'm also excited because doing this like this tonight, sharing our passions is what I want to spend the bulk of my time on. So I'm fortunate that I have this to transition to or rewire, as Jane is always telling me.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
We have a new boss that's going to be coming into the office. So that's both a great opportunity and it's a little scary.
Yeah,
So that's pretty honest.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, I had that at Eastern where I teach. I had the most incredible boss, and I was so nervous to get our new boss because I thought there's no way, or I should say, it would be very rare that anybody could equal her because she was such an incredible boss. And guess what? We got someone just as wonderful.
Well, we
And-
still have our dean, which is great.
Yes,
And he's
yes.
just an amazing boss, the best.
Yeah,
But there'll be a person that will be doing the operations part of the position. So
right.
yeah.
But that is a scary time, right? It's a change and a transition, you know, that can give you a little bit of stress, right?
So I love this book. This is great.
Yeah. Awesome.
I have a big change on the personal front. Mary will relate to this, where it looks like we're going to have my mother-in-law come to Ann Arbor to go into hospice or memory care.
Oh,
And it's, you know, we sort of did this with my mom. I kind of know what this is like a little bit. Everybody's different, but it's sort of preparing this right now is sort of this being really uncertain, a little bit scared, nervous, but also thinking could be a great opportunity to make a difference for her, but also for my kids to get to know this grandmother.
right.
They don't really know. So that's more of a change very much on the personal front. But yeah.
That's one.
Jane, we all know that what happens in our personal life affects us even at work. It's not like we draw. I mean, it used to be we were supposed to draw a line between the two, but now people are much more flexible in terms of understanding that, hey, you know, personal life is personal life. It's not that there's only work life. There is life at home. And sometimes there's some really big challenges and changes. And my heart goes out to you because as you well know, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And you know, our next question, I really want to say it's kind of a question and reflection, but what can you do today that will align your goals with your organization's goals? And I want to say that we teach you how to do this in the book, right? We teach you how to really identify what your goals are and make sure that they are in sync with your organization's goals. So that is one thing that we will walk you through very carefully in the book. So,
because we also know that that's not something that a lot of people think about.
right.
And it is important to know, you know, if what you're doing is what you value.
Yep. So then the next fuse is a strengths-based approach. And one of my favorite quotes is by Malcolm Gladwell. If you work hard enough and assert yourself and use your mind and imagination, you can shape the world to your desires. And I hope that many of us have read the book Outliers, his book Outliers. It is truly an incredible book and it just changed my life. But in this book, he questions not only what distinguishes famous and successful people, but also what makes them the highest achievers. And the answer is not what you think it is. It turns out that continuous learning, getting creative, and diligence are a big part of success. And what we want to do is help you discover your strengths and how to make them work in a unique way in our world today. So how are you going to get to know yourself better and discover the strength you did not know you had? We go through this with you, and it turns out that we want to help you be a learning individual. We want to help you create a learning team and learning teams within the organization. And we want to help you to be able to get creative and problem solve. We don't encourage creativity as much as we should, and we help you with that. And so we have lots of methods and lots of models and lots of stories how people get creative and think outside the box, or sometimes just blow up the box, right? And so we go through this in this section to help spur the creativity. One thing I did in one of the stories is I took the SWOT. We all know strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? Well, there's the SWOT model, and then there's the SOAR model, which is strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. And what I did is I put them together and I created the SWOTer model. And so I use that in my classes. So it's just an example. It's a little example, but it's taking something and, tweaking it slightly and making it your own. And we just really encourage that in this section. So ask yourself and answer, how can you begin learning more about yourself today? What can you do in this world to learn a little bit more about yourself?
And I'm going to jump in here, Kim, and tell everybody, in addition to the sample fuse questions and reflections that we have at the end of each chapter, at the end of the book, we have 2 toolboxes.
Yeah.
One is for staff and one is for managers, because we hope managers are going to read this as much as staff are. Okay. And they have lots of activities, exercises, resources. So if you don't know where to start, you can look in the chapters 13 and 14, and they will give you some ideas about what you can do, as well as what we write in the book.
Yeah.
Because learning about who you are, what you're good at, we often don't take time to figure that out. And if we're going to thrive at work, we need to know what drives us and what is our passion, what is our purpose.
And we also talk about getting feedback from those you can trust, right? Asking for feedback. One thing I do on a pretty consistent basis is I ask my students about mid-semester. I call it my 1-minute survey. And it's literally 1 minute. When are you most engaged? When are you most distanced? What has been your biggest aha so far? And I'm always amazed at the answers I get. I mean, some of them are just so funny. And some people are like, I love videos. Some people are, I don't like videos, things like that. But it really helps me tweak the class to what their interests are. And I'd like to say it sets me up for success in the classroom. And, I say you can think you're doing great. You can always think you're doing great as a leader, but if you don't ask for feedback, how are you going to know that you're doing great? Right? It's important that you get feedback so that you can take that information to heart.
And I'm going to piggyback on that, Kim. It's not just as a leader, as a staff member, as
Absolutely.
an employee,
Absolutely.
having feedback on a constant basis means there'll be less room for miscommunication, less room for things to go wrong, because you're having constant conversations. Kim Cameron has a program that he designed that provides one-on-one with your employees on a regular basis. He has this whole little thing that he wrote out that's so cool. It's so cool. He did it with his own kids. It was just amazing. And they couldn't wait for him to come home so that they could have their private meeting with dad,
Aww.
So I think that's really important to remember too, that so many organizations and industries, you get once a year, you get the
Right.
feedback.
Right.
And it's not going to help you. Something that you did 11 months ago is not going to help you now. You need feedback regularly. And if you're not getting it, we would like to suggest that you ask.
Yes. And so think about that. Just reflect on it yourself. How can you begin learning more about yourself today? And then you can also ask yourself, what would you accomplish if you knew you could not fail? If you had enough resources, if you had enough time, if you had enough money, if you had enough resources, what would you work towards?
All right.
Does anyone want to share? Or just reflect on those questions.
Oh, I will. I'll
Okay.
reflect on that.
All right.
So I love doing what I do. So just know that. And it pays the bills. But at the same time, it provides something that gives back to the doctors, and I have the best doctors in the world. So I love my job. But if I had all the money in the world and I could not fail, I would go around the world and do photography wherever, whenever I can, because that's what I love to do in my private time.
Okay.
So that's it. I love my job.
But how, and we talk about how can you work those things together so that it can be a win-win for both, right?
Mhm.
And Mary says, take up video re-editing and teaching sailing.
Oh,
Wow.
who's a
Wow.
sailor?
All right. You know,
You are an adventurous woman. Oh, that's awesome. All right.
All right, so we're going to go to the last fuse now, which is engage in high quality connections. Most of you have heard me present on this, but I'm going to give you a little bit more information, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Okay. All right. So high quality connections are interactions between people marked by mutual regard, trust, and respectful engagement. It means you're having, in essence, sometimes it's a conversation you have with someone. Sometimes it's just passing someone in a hall, getting a text, being on a Zoom meeting. It's not a relationship, even though it can become one. It's just something that happens in a microsecond, okay? And it can energize you and the other person. You can be electrified by this. Think about if you walk down the hall of work, for those of us that are back in an office, and you see somebody and you smile at them, that changes how you feel physically and emotionally. Mm-hmm. So it's like little things can have impact, long-term impact. So I feel kind of funny talking about this in front of Jane, since this is her work. But she knows that I am passionate about it. I've been talking about it for 14 years. Yes, Mari, it is hard for people to see you smile when we're wearing masks. Yes. I had somebody take lipstick and put it on the front of her mask in the shape of a smile.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. Whatever it takes, little things like that can mean a lot. Anyhow, all right, so let's talk about the 4 pathways for building respectful engagement. Or excuse me, for making high quality connections. The first one is respectful engagement, making sure that you are not only paying attention to the person that you're talking to, you're listening to them, you are giving them eye contact, you're leaning in, your ahas. Oh, it's letting that person know that at that moment, that's the only thing you want to do. Yep. You are totally focused on them. It's hard to do because our mind can absorb a lot more than we can talk. So we can talk only about 125 to 150 words a minute, even when you're Italian and you talk with your hands. Okay. And the mind can absorb several hundred words per minute faster than that. Anyhow, the next one is task enabling. Task enabling is helping someone else succeed. I know that enabling doesn't always have a positive connotation to it, but in this particular group of task enabling, this is a really significant and helpful tool to have. All right. It may be coaching or mentoring somebody. Maybe you have someone new in the department. My son was telling me that he has a new boss coming in and he has to train the new boss. So it's not always top down. It can be down up too.
Right.
All right. And the more you help others succeed, the more you succeed. Unfortunately, people do not always feel comfortable about asking for help for numbers of reasons. They don't want to look stupid. They don't want to bother someone without realizing how beneficial it can be to both people. I'm going to give you a quick example of this. I'm known at the university for not having very good IT skills. On a scale of 0 to 10, they're about a -10. It's just not my area of expertise. And I call the help desk a lot. And not only the IT desk at Ross, but the general one for the whole university. And I think I had to make 3 calls in one day. And I told the person that answered, I'm so sorry to bother you again, but I need help. And the person said, shocked me what they said. They said, Mary, you don't need to apologize because if you didn't call, I wouldn't have a job. And I never thought about it that way. So he's helping me succeed and I'm helping him keep his job, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Yes, she is.
says I'm a pretty smart cookie. Well, there are some traits and some gifts that I wasn't in line for when they were handed out. And technology is one of them. The other one is cooking. Yeah. Those two. All right. The third pathway is trust. For me, I believe this is the hardest one to cultivate in the workplace is trust. Are you dependable?
No.
You know, are you reliable? Are you going to do what you say you're going to do or not do what you say you're not going to do? You know, can you be the type of person that people want to come to and trust in so that you can make you, your team, your office thrive? You need to employ trust to do that. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the very last one is play at work. I have to tell you, this was quite a few years ago, but one day my boss came to me and it was like 4 p.m. and he said to me, get your coat on. And it was in January. I said, okay, where are we going? Get the students and tell them we have a bunch of PhD students, international and otherwise that work in our department. And so we got our coats on and we all went outside and he started throwing snowballs. We had a snowball fight at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We had so much fun. Then I asked them, since some of them were international, did they know what snow angels were? And they didn't. So I lied on the ground and I made a snow angel. And then they laid on the ground and made a snow angel. You know, to this day, none of us forget that.
Yeah.
That was such a simple, non-costly, powerful experience that connected us. And still, I mean, one of the people, I'm thinking this was like in 2012. So, 8-9 years ago. And one of the people that was there wrote me earlier this year and was surprised that I still had the pictures. And she said, send them all to me. I want to remember everything.
Aw.
So when we talk to you about play at work, we want you to understand that it doesn't have to be major. It can be simple things. It can be a potluck. It can be, let's have a meal where everyone brings something from their nationality. I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So consider ways you can inject a more lighthearted atmosphere in the office, maybe decorating a coworker's space to acknowledge their birthday, or decorating your own office with items that make others smile.
Yeah.
Think about what creative ideas could you try? Now just think about it. Was there another question about empathy?
Yeah, and we can go back to that one about how can you show empathy today?
Today, yeah.
Yep.
In what way can you walk in someone's shoes and be there for them? And we describe in the book what empathy is, what the definition of empathy is. And actually we reference Brene Brown's little 2-minute video on the difference between sympathy and empathy, because it's very, very powerful to be able to describe the difference between the two. All right.
And
What
we
we
have
got?
we have so many exercises in the book, in our chapters 12 and 13, that I just I think I counted them. There's at least 15 in each chapter. And one of the exercises in there is the high quality connections exercise, where you put a team into groups of 3 and you go around and share your stories. And I do that exercise in the beginning of every class. And it makes all the difference in the world, because people come in. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. People come in and everybody's, got their blinders on, right? They're sitting there, they're trying to put their game face on, right? And they share these stories and they realize, oh my gosh, we're all so much more alike than they thought they were initially, right? And all of a sudden it creates connections among the classmates that are so much more meaningful, and it sets the whole semester up for success. And to me, those relationships, they're the icing on the cake of life, right? I mean, they're what make me excited to see people, right? Because their story and you want to ask them about things that are going on with their lives and things like that. And yeah, it's just incredible. So to me, while no fuse is more important than the other, I do think the high quality connections one is just so very important
And powerful.
Yeah. And we really talk a lot about not overly, but we do discuss diversity versus inclusion and how to harness diversity to create an inclusive environment. A lot of people have the goal of diversity, but they don't really use it, to create an environment where everybody feels included. And so I've been trying, when I say diversity, I try to always make sure I use the word inclusion as well. And one of our favorite quotes is by Verna Myers: "Diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance." And I just think it's to me, when I first heard this quote, it was such a visual, right? I mean, you can have diversity at the table, but if you don't harness it and use it for good, that's all it is. It's just diversity. And so how do you use it and harness it to create good in your organization? So we have, I don't know if you want to do the exercises, Mary, but we do have a lot of, what did you say, Mary?
I'm just looking at the time because I want to make sure we honor everybody's time. The first exercise won't take that long. It'll take about 5 minutes. So I think we could do one exercise.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're going to give you an example. Some of you have done this before, because anybody who knows me, if I've done a presentation on gratitude, you know what happens. So please get out a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to find paper and pencil. We'll wait till Jane comes back because she has to have this too, so she can participate. We noticed that Lisa joined us. Thanks for joining us, Lisa. Glad you're here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, you are to write down on the piece of paper, no typing. This has to be handwritten. All the things that you're grateful for, people, places, things, etc. On your mark, get set, go. Pens down. Now I would like you to count up how many you've got.
And should we put them in the chat?
Yes, if you would put them in the chat, that would be awesome. Just put how many you had. Oh, Libby had 13. Good for you. Sharon
I
had
know I'm not
12.
eligible, but I wanted to do it.
Yeah, okay. Barbara had 17. Oh my gosh. Okay, Mari had 9. I'm sorry. Was that Jane? Is that you?
Yep, yep. Melissa
Okay, whoops.
and Jane.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Thank you for writing and telling us that. Well, I think, Barbara, you win. You win a prize. Usually if we were in person, I would tell you, you get to come up front and do a song and dance for everybody. But that's not really what happens. What really happens, give me 1 second here because I didn't get this out and I should have. You are going to receive a gratitude journal.
Yay.
Okay. I have a friend who makes these for me, and I give them out when I give a gratitude presentation because I talk about the importance of gratitude journaling. And when people tell me they don't have enough time to journal, I tell them also about Marty Seligman, who is one of the pioneers of positive psychology, I think it is, says that if you do this if you lay on your head on the pillow at night and you think of 3 things that you're grateful for that day, what happened, how did it make you feel? And you do that for a week, he said you will have trouble stopping doing that because it clears your mind. Think about it. You're not thinking about what happened during the day and you're not thinking about all the things that you have to do the next day. You're focused on what you're grateful for. And that helps to calm the body.
And after doing this, at least for 21 days, it can literally rewire your brain into a more positive space.
I'm a recipient of one of those gratitude journals, so I'm glad you got that, Barbara. And I had an amazing moment where I was just a little down because my daughter was going to college and she was leaving, and is that kind of control of always having her here. But I remembered I was and I wrote down I was grateful for the fact that, and yeah, I'd love to have my mom here. She passed away when I was 15, but I said I get to see my daughter grow up, and I get to be in her life as an adult so it totally shifted. And I was so grateful for that anytime I hear anybody say, they're very sad about their kids leaving, I remember that gratitude of, even when things get tough, I get to see her grow up. And so that gratitude journal was the leader of that.
I'm so glad, Libby. I'm so glad.
Sometimes I just go back through and I read it, maybe if I've had a bad day or a blah day, but not always. Just sometimes I flip back through it and it just makes me more grateful.
Mhm.
right? Again,
Absolutely,
so, yeah.
absolutely. So you want to just open it up? Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I guess we should tell them where they can get the book.
Oh, sure,
I
sure.
guess that would kind of be important.
We also have a webinar coming up on Monday with Kim Cameron, and he has a book out called Positively Energizing Leadership. And if you're interested, I don't know how to put the link in the thing, but you can email Mary or myself at kimjbarker at Gmail, or email Mary, and we can send you the link to register for that. And this is how you can, oh, awesome, Melissa. Melissa signed up already. And this is how you can order our book today, if you would like. Go to Dynamic Connections LLC, and under one of the headings is under products. And we hope that we spurred your interest a little bit today in the book that we have written. And do you have any questions? Any questions for us?
I have a question. I don't know. It's a different kind of question, but I'm just curious. You know, writing a book is a big deal, as you know. It takes a lot of time, I'm curious about what you would say about what you learned about yourselves in writing this book.
That's a really good question, Jane.
That we can do it.
You learned you could do it, which is
Yes.
a big, yeah.
Yes. I mean, Mary and I, there's so many times we're like, we do not really know what we're doing, but we're going to keep swimming. Right, Mary?
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we had ups and downs. Like it took us a whole year to find and realize the importance of having an editor, somebody who could write and help us, because we have two different writing styles. And so we had to get somebody to help us so we could gel them so that they flowed. And I think asking for that kind of help at first, I had no idea how important that was. But after it was done, it was like, it made it so much easier to believe we could do it.
And
in
the beginning,
Jane, you were one of the ones that suggested it right early on, but it took us a year.
We had to hear it a few times.
Yeah.
I get it.
You know, and so then we learned, you know, who did we need to ask for help? And who was it? It was a presentation I heard from, I think it was Zanya Facco, who wrote her own book. And I'm not sure why I have it right now, but she read the Self-Publisher's Guide to Publishing. It's in its 17th edition. And there were so many helpful things in there. It's over 400 pages. And I have stickies on almost every page, because it was like, oh, you need to know this and you need to know that. And then you should think about this. And, you know, and then when you get it done, then you got to think about marketing, but you should have thought about marketing 6 months ago. I think we found out that it was more work than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think we learned more about how to collaborate, especially with different writing styles. I think that was
and if I could share, our editor in the beginning thought our writing styles were too different to collaborate. And we're like, nope, we're going to figure it out. Right. So, you know, I mean, it was, you know, it was a lesson of getting feedback and doing a little bit and then getting more feedback. And and the end result was, we are so proud of the end result, because there's a lot of scholarly work in there, but it's in a very simplified way. And we have so many stories that are just, I mean, we really wanted to help. We wanted to bring this to light, to the boots on the ground, if so to speak, right? People that go into work every day, and how can you use these principles to make a difference in where you're at right now? And so many times students say, my boss doesn't care what I think, right? They have no desire to know what I think. And I say, well, have you ever shared? Have you ever shared suggestions? Have you ever, brought forth ideas? I mean, even bosses need to be able to harness things to make their job easier, right? They're always looking, or I should say most of them are always looking for ways, ideas, tips, tools. And these are things that even an employee can do at work.
We're so grateful you all took the time to be with us tonight. Thank you so much, and for sharing our passion. And special thanks to Jane, who helped to make all of this possible 14 years ago when she let me start talking about high quality connections. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for your support.
All right, guys, have a great evening. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mary.
Mary,
Congratulations.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good evening.